Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Bright Sessions 10th anniversary live stream. I'm Lauren Shippen. I am the creator, writer, voice of Sam, director, producer of many hats. This is my baby. And I am so excited to be joined today by these three wonderful actors. And I will let them introduce themselves. Julia.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Julia Morizawa. I am the voice of Dr. Bright. And Andrew.
Andrew, yes, that's my name, Andrew Nowak, and I was the voice of Mark Bryant, and I'll throw it over to Christian.
Hey, everybody, my name is Christian Brune. Oh, you all put your last names. I didn't put my last name up here.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
I'm Christian Brune. I play Oliver Ritz, and the snarky Oliver Ritz, and I'm going to pass it over back to Lauren.
Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you everybody for tuning in at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. We've got more of you than honestly I expected. Thank you for being active in the chat. Please do ask questions in the chat. We do have some questions that folks submitted in advance. I'm going to try to get to as many as possible. There are always a couple of questions every month that are like more specific to like writing or building the show that I don't want to just be talking for an hour here. So those I will be saving for our Halloween live stream spectacular, where I will be live streaming for several hours on Halloween. So put that pin in your calendar now. There's going to be some special surprises.
Don't you mean a Halloween spooktacular, Lauren?
I do. Thank you, Christian. I do mean a Halloween spectacular. So yes, please ask questions of these wonderful three actors here in front of us while we are live. But first, starting off, I mean, what do the three of you remember about recording the AM Archives a million years? This is 6 years ago, more than 6 years ago that we recorded the show. Anything that comes to mind of that time?
Can I just start off by saying that during our introductions, I'd like to point out that I think I said that I am the voice of Dr. Bright, and Andrew said that he was the voice of Mark.
I've decided.
It was and it hit me in a heavy way, surprisingly. Where the past tense kind of hit me in a heavy way that I didn't expect.
Yeah,
that's all. That's all.
No, I had the same reaction to Andrew saying that, because it is strange that these are characters that we've played in the past but no longer play.
I suppose I still voice him, as his story goes on.
In a spiritual sense.
Yeah.
Someone said in the chat, did Mark die? No, Mark is alive and well.
Surprise!
Dr. Bright is eternal, Mark is temporary.
Nice.
But we just, we don't voice these characters anymore. And I mean, Christian, you were new to.
I was the new guy. Yeah.
You were the new guy.
I was nervous.
Were you really?
Coming in. Oh my God, yeah. Because you guys had such rapport already, and Lauren and I had worked together on Passenger List. That's when I first met you, because I auditioned for that, and then we recorded that in Burbank, and that was really fun. But it was also just me with one other actor, and we were just interacting. That was a really cool recording in its own right, because you had us do like walking and talking outside, going into a building. Like, it was very physical, which I really loved, and I wasn't expecting that from a podcast recording, because I'd done others before where you just sit at a microphone. What I loved about this was we all were like in a circle together in a room, and we could look at each other. You could interact, unlike most other podcast recordings. It was more physical, and because we were standing, in a weird way, you like connect to your breath in a weird way. This is getting into the weeds, but
no, I love it.
Standing is like a totally different feeling. It engages your body, it engages your muscles and your balance, and you're more present. You're more like alive, I feel like. And I really, really dug that experience in recording this.
Yeah, it's so funny. Hearing you say that, I'm like, yeah, I guess in the entire events of the AM Archives, Oliver never sits down. Like, we never hear him sit because we did. Yeah. So we, as many of you watching know, we recorded the first 4 seasons of the Bright Sessions, sort of the main run of the show, in my bedroom, in my 1-bedroom West Hollywood apartment, just sort of sitting across from each other. And then for the bonus episodes in season 5 and then seasons 6 and what would have been how we recorded season 7 if the pandemic hadn't happened. We recorded at Evan Cunningham's studio in Pasadena. And yeah, we did sort of just like stand in a circle. But then when we had scenes in which people were sitting, like there was one scene in which Sam and Agent Green are sitting on the floor, and Ian and I actually sat on the floor when Agent Green, the spoilers for AM Archives here for everybody. I'm assuming everybody watching already knows what happens to Agent Green in this show. But when he dies, yeah, Julia was kneeling next to Ian prone on the ground, you know, and so yeah, like Oliver just, I think, never sits down in the entire show. Or we are never with him when he sits down, because you were standing the whole time.
He's a busybody. He's been locked in a basement for 3 years. He's
Exactly.
He's not bored. He's pent up, and so people who are pent up, you know, tend to bounce around a room. But even
It's
just
true.
being able to have that engagement with the other actors across from me in a circle was just like to look at people and to, you know, it just, you don't get that opportunity with voiceover work that often to connect to your, you know, your fellow actor. And sometimes you're completely separate. Sometimes you're just recording your lines completely separate, which is like nonsensical to me. So to like go through this and make it feel like a truly like a radio play, like an old-timey radio play, and that we were interacting, I mean, just makes such a difference.
Yeah, that's always been the bread and butter of the show, is that we actually got to interact with people, which I think is what you had always intended, Lauren, is like you wanted that like face-to-face, you know, interaction. And
I mean, honestly, nothing, like literally nothing else occurred to me. Like it didn't occur to me that there could be a different way to do this. I think because like so much of the show came out of like the acting class that the three of us were in,
Right.
and having that interaction. But then also like the first season was recorded on a Blue Yeti, and it was one microphone that two people shared. And like, and this was, you know, this was in 2015, so there wasn't like the thing of like every actor having their own mic in the way that happens a lot now, you know? So yeah, it never occurred to do anything different.
you lied. We were in another studio twice.
2 different studios.
2 different
That's
studios.
right.
One
Yes.
didn't work out, right? Because there was a lot of noise. It was like a
We were
live loft. Work.
Yeah, Christian. I
There
don't
was
know if
like
you were
drumming
ever
or
at
something.
any of the other studios, because I think
think
Evan
so.
had like just built his studio and it wasn't
Yeah.
quite ready, and so that we did some of the scenes in the AM Archives in 2 different studios. One was Headgum's studio that had a very cute dog but had really loud pipes,
Right.
and so we didn't end up going there. And then
That's
one
kind of
was
weird for a podcast company to have very loud pipes. That's
very odd. Yeah,
Yeah.
they'd like insulated them, but like it wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
And then the other one was in like the warehouse district. It was, we're convinced that it was like a front for the Armenian mob or something. Like the vibe was like very weird.
There were puddles
It was-
dripping in the dark corners outside the studio. Like
Yeah,
yes,
and it was like always these like huge guys, like very serious, and like the studio was like empty, and they were like it was like an event space that they were building,
Right.
and it was freezing cold inside. It was very
Oh
strange.
yeah. That was like in Glendale. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, the Evan's studio was sort of became the main spot that we were recording in. And yeah, I mean, like Andrew and Julia, like did you feel like it was significantly different as an experience from like recording the first 4 seasons of The Bright Sessions just like in my apartment?
I think the biggest difference was the larger cast and having that full, instead of just being 2 people sitting across from each other, even though we did get into group scenes prior, but definitely like standing and having the group scenes. And then I remember for whatever reason, I decided to like wear clothes for Dr. Bright. Like I was always in like business casual.
Yes, you should.
Clothes?
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah,
I thought you were
this
going
is
to
really
finish
good.
that.
You just left it at that, Julia. Come on, give the people what they want.
Like, what did I miss out on the previous seasons? This is crazy.
because we were on our feet, I was like, I'd put on like shoes, like office, like flats and slacks and everything. And I remember, the other thing I remember is having, right? Is this true? Is this accurate? Did we get the whole season in advance? Did we have all the
Yes.
scripts in advance?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was like something that had never happened. Having the full story arc in advance and reading that in advance of actually recording was a big change.
Lauren, because that's like 16 episodes, 20 episodes, like something like a huge amount of half-hour episodes
Yeah.
That's more than TV shows these days. TV shows are like 6 or 8 episodes long, 10 if you
Yeah.
want to. Like
Yeah,
crazy.
well, and
That's
actually,
a
yeah,
lot of
somebody
output.
sent in a question in advance. Lily sent in a question. Oh wait, sorry, that is the wrong one. But Lily also sent in this question. Lauren, what was your experience like with working with co-writers on a chronological season? Was it hard
That's
to
what I
get
was
control
just
of these
gonna bring up.
characters you created? How did you, Octavia and Caitlin, put together a coherent plot while also each having control of your individual episodes? Because so for the first 4 seasons of the Bright Sessions, it was, the first season was 9 episodes, the second season was 20 episodes, and then season 3 and 4 were 16 episodes each, and I wrote every episode. But to your point, Julia, I was like, okay, we're recording this in a week and it comes out in 3 weeks. Here's the script. Like, especially season 2 was like really flying by the seat of my pants. And so, you guys wouldn't have a lot of time with the scripts. It was more like a TV show in that way, actually, where it was like we would sort of have like 8 episodes, a mid-season break, and then 8 episodes, and the scripts would sort of come as I was writing them. But yeah, for season 5, we did all these bonus episodes, and I got guest writers to write those episodes and kind of learned how to like be a showrunner a little bit and give notes, and then also do like a showrunner's pass to make sure that character voice was staying coherent, but that it wasn't like running roughshod over somebody's script. And actually, like, a huge part of how I learned to do that was Passenger List, because I was a writer on that and then a co-director and co-producer, and John Dryden, the creator of that, kind of put me in charge of the LA writers room because he was based in London and I was based in LA, and like I learned so much from him. That show really gave me a lot because, John taught me how to sort of show run. And then also I met Christian, and like that show was a really great experience. But then for working with Octavia and Caitlin on AM Archives, and then Megan wrote the last 4 episodes, the mini episodes, we just had a writer's room and we sort of mapped out what we wanted the season to be, and then did it like a TV show where it's like everybody gets assigned an episode. You bring back outlines. I looked over the outlines, made little tweaks, and then we sort of did the first half of the season and then the second half, because also they were like kind of distinct, right? The first half of the season, which Oliver isn't even in. Like, we don't.
No, not really.
Oliver.
He shows up briefly in. I had to look it all up because it's been so long, and I was like going through everything. I'm like, oh, I'm only in 7 episodes, and I think I pop up in like episode 7. You get an introduction to me, and then there's like this long break before I come back, and you kind of get more understanding of his powers and what he's capable of, or what he's useful for in
Totally.
this season. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody about the standing thing said, I assumed he was standing at the reception desk, and because somebody else said, wait, he doesn't sit down while he does the paperwork, because that's the first time we meet Oliver is when he's doing his sign-up paperwork, and I also did, like, I pictured him standing at the reception. He's like, I just want to get out of here, like, just get me out of here. And then the last half of the season all takes place within like more or less in real time. Like it's like 8 episodes that sort of takes place over like 11 hours maybe. And so, so I mean, like that really made it a lot easier. Having the writers room made it a lot easier to get all the scripts done before the season. The hardest thing was then breaking down all of the scripts in the best way to record, because that was the other thing, is we would only ever record 1 episode at a time with the Bright Sessions. And so like being like, okay, we've got like 8 days of production that we need to do 16 episodes in. How do we make that happen? And somehow we did. But it was, I just remember being very, very tired in that time.
Yeah, I would think so.
The whole thing was just elevated, like, because we had like a studio space, and like it was so cool having Tavy and Caitlin come in. And then the other things I remember were, Julia's performance at the end with Green, because I'd been done recording, but I was like, oh, they're going to record that now? I'm going to sit back and watch this. And that was devastating. And then we all just sat there and kind of stared into the distance after that, because Julia is amazing. And and then Helen being such a force in this series too. Those are some of the things that I remember from the whole thing. Yeah.
So you guys I didn't know you guys hadn't, I mean, you had already done like a whole bunch of episodes when I stepped in to join you guys. So I guess that situation, I had no idea. I thought maybe the previous seasons you had done in studio as well. I didn't know you were just kind of doing it on the fly like that. So great. Why was I so nervous then? Jeez.
I don't know. Like I remember being very nervous to ask you, because like I remember you auditioning for Passenger List, and you came in and like I I was already a fan of yours, right? Like I loved you in Orphan Black, and I was like, oh my God, like this guy's auditioning for this show. That's crazy. And then it was such a delight to work with you.
Yeah.
That I was like, when Caitlin, because Caitlin Shanahan created the character of Oliver Ritz, and he was initially like a little bit different. Like he was initially more, I think, like Doc Brown, like kind of like an older guy, who was like kind of like kooky and I mean, Oliver's still kooky.
Yeah.
But I remember talking to Caitlin sort of about casting, and I was like, this would be slightly different direction. But I worked with this guy, Christian Brune, on Passenger List, and he was such a delight to work with and has such a great energy that like I think he would be great for this. And she was so down for that. And because we got some questions about Oliver, and specifically about Oliver and Mark as well, because I don't know how much you know this, Christian, but like Oliver is like a fan favorite character. Like people love
that's
Oliver.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
And I think that is due in huge part to your performance. And so yeah, one of the questions that somebody asked was, let's see, there's a couple of different questions here. Okay, I can't actually find the exact wording, but basically it was okay, here it is. Sorry. For Christian and Andrew, obviously you guys have great natural chemistry, but during the reading and recording of AM Archives, did you ever play your characters with the intent of having that spark there? Like, were you inspired at all by the written dynamic to kind of lean into a potentially romantic vibe between them, or did it just happen? Because, of course, in the college tapes, we sort of lean into that more. But, yeah, I mean, what was your memory? Because I have a very specific memory of sort of that occurring. But, yeah, I'm curious what your take is on it.
For me, I was, like, drawn to Andrew as a performer. I was like, this guy's so cool, and he's so good at what he does. And I'm just like, man, I just want to work with this guy. This is great. So, like, you naturally, I think, as a performer, tend to connect with people, and having the opportunity to do that obviously helps as well in the writing. So I don't know, it's just the marriage of writing and performance, and when it clicks, and I think it takes a savvy showrunner to recognize that and then lean into it in future episodes.
Yeah.
What about you, Andrew?
Well, thank you for saying that, Christian. That's really, really kind of you. And I mean, ditto. Like it first starts with the writing and just being like, oh, this is going to be fun. And then getting to meet Christian and it's like, oh, great. And I get to actually like play with this too, with this other actor. And this is just going to be fun. And then, yeah, I don't remember exactly what you said, but I remember like a twinkle in your eye like after doing scenes, Lauren, being like, this is going to be a thing. Like, yeah. So.
Which is the exact same thing that happened when we put Damien and Mark together, which was just that like you and Charlie had such a spark that it was like, oh, okay, this is, and I think what was really different about the AM Archives was that, yeah, we had not written Oliver that way at all, like at all.
Right.
And
I read it completely wrong.
No, I loved it. Like we definitely had written him. I mean, like Caitlin is just like a clever, like wonderful writer who just like imbues such personality into all of her characters that like he had this like natural like snark and charm and wit to him that then of course you just really brought out. And then the thing that, yeah, we didn't anticipate was there being kind of a connection between Oliver and Mark. And, you know, when that happened with Mark and Damien in the original series, it was like, okay, well, like, yeah, let's pursue this. Like, let's see what happens here if we sort of like, you know, just like right into this. With AM Archives, we couldn't do that. The scripts were already written. Right? So it's like, we just, I mean, sorry, Christian, go ahead.
That's a case where I think the way that we recorded it, being around each other, like, I wonder if we were just like individually recording things, if we would have found that spark. Had we not been in the same room and been able to like look across at each other and interact with each other, you know, pick our faces off the script and like look at each other, you know, it makes a huge difference. So, you know, for these big ensemble pieces, which, you know, the college tapes were as well, in their own way, because we still recorded them as a group, so to speak, just through Zoom during the pandemic. But it really does make such a difference when you can like establish a connection with someone in the room. It really helps.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, it was just a matter of sort of like leaning into that as much as we could. And I remember like, you know, you guys improvised like a couple of little exchanges that ended up making it into the final thing. And then, yeah, somebody else asked a question. Did you plan for Oliver to become so important when you introduced him in AM Archives? Was College Tapes already sort of built in your mind with his more major role established, or did working with Christian and writing for Oliver create his role in the college tapes? Either way, Christian, was it surprising at all to move from a very fun side role in the AM archives to a bigger player in college tapes? To answer the first part of the question, yeah, it was 100% due to just like working with you, Christian, and seeing you take on that role and then being like, well, we need more of this guy. Which, like, I can't imagine that you expected necessarily, because that wasn't something I had like primed you for. So yeah, what was your experience sort of in that?
No, I mean, it's funny, this is always my goal when I work, is I just want to work and be enjoyable to work with, or do good enough work that people want to work with me more. So it's always a joy when I get to collaborate with someone that I enjoyed working with before. So, you know, when you approached me after Passenger List to do this, I was like, yes, I'm in 100%. Oh my God. Yeah. Let's get back into this working relationship, because it was so much fun. And then it was just a no-brainer with college tapes. I loved the character. I connected to Oliver, and you know, I really grew to love him very quickly in a very short time, because, you know, he's only in a few sessions of recording sessions for this. So the chance to like come back and do more with him was a no-brainer and an instant yes. And you know, I was not expecting that, but I always hope for that. I mean, that's always the goal, is, you know, finding good people to collaborate with and getting to continue that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is, we've talked about this on previous streams, like that is so much at the heart of this show, is just that like we all like just like each other and like working with each other, and like we just have gotten so lucky, and that like everybody who's been a part of the project has been so lovely and so fun to work with, and yeah, brought their own perspective to things. Somebody asked what improvised parts made it in. I don't remember all of them, but I remember the little bit about Thai food was improvised, I believe. And yeah, I mean, there were definitely like the bloopers from our archives are out in the Bright Sessions feed now, and they're very, very fun. And that leads me to my next question, which is, for everybody, what was your favorite scene to record in this series, if anything stands out? Julia, Andrew,
anybody?
Anybody?
I just personally love the biggest group scenes where we're all jumping on each other, and it also allows for the most amount of fun little improvs and little it's all the little things that make something come to life and feel a little bit more real, and that comes from, it's not always necessarily written between the lines, but it's the ums, the ahs, the vocalizations, the breaths. You know, Andrew and Julia are so good at taking time with the lines, but also like carrying so much emotional weight in an exhale, because that doesn't always come across in audio performance. Like on camera, you don't always have to you know, sigh or let out the air in your lungs to express emotion. It's usually there on your face, it's everywhere else, but in audio you don't get that. So they actually translate the work so well to an audio format, and being in a circle where there's a huge group of us, we can capture these little moments and keep them in there, and you can see them take these breaths together or take moments together. Because Julia, you had so much like heavy emotional stuff to do in this season, and especially with the death of Owen, spoiler alert. And yeah, I mean, anytime there's a scene where like Oliver's coming up with a serum and we're trying to put out oh god, what's the name of the character who's on fire? And
Alex,
like yes. And so like someone's got to like shoot the needle into Alex and not get burned, and like I'm like tossing around the serum, and you know, we're all just bouncing off each other, and it's kind of high energy because there's a fucking dude on fire. Sorry if I swore. And
please,
okay,
we swear so much in the show. That's allowed.
Okay, yeah, good point. And so I really love that scene because people are like yelling at Oliver, and he's like, I got this, whatever, I figured out the serum now, blah, blah. Like there's all this like shit going on, and it's all hitting the fan, but it's all just barely under control under the surface. And I remember that scene being really fun because we're just like in a circle, like just like and like that's just fun to do. I don't know.
100%.
I don't, you know, I didn't like re-listen. I didn't do my homework like Christian did. But there's this
it's like fresh in my mind. I listened to the last episode.
I'm trying to remember. I feel like there was a series of scenes or a scene when Andrea, what was her full name?
Sharp, Dr. Sharp.
Dr. Sharp, yes.
Yeah,
She dies.
she does. Yeah.
But I have a memory of that moment being, instead of where the real sort of like thriller, like, holy shit, like we are trapped in this building with like very bad things. And I remember that being a lot of fun, that sort of like heightened, I guess just like thriller tone that we got to in those moments. Because that's just something that never existed in the other seasons, where you're just like, everyone is like on their feet or hiding or doing something, right? And it was just very intense. And I think that was a lot of fun. And it's similarly like there's just so much going on with a larger cast, and just being able to bounce off of each other and keep that pacing, even in like voice work, was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of already answered this, but like, again, ditto to everything. Like, yeah, and I had someone in the chat mention Alex too. Like, everything Alex was doing for Wadsworth was just like, it was fantastic. But the one thing that still just sticks out was, again, I'm just gonna say, it was sitting watching Julia with Ian dying. And it was just like,
just if anyone missed it, Agent Green
is
dies.
dead.
He's dead.
dead.
He dies.
I know, I feel like I'm like having to withhold that, but I'm like, people should know.
No,
by
people
now.
know.
Yeah, I think very
Yeah. And yeah, just like, damn it, Julia. It's just like not just being drained watching it and being like, yeah, of course, like, because she just brought everything and like laid it all out, and it was just, yeah, like it was did we record that at the end? Was that the last thing?
We did it.
so.
We did as much sequentially as we possibly could.
Yeah, and like that kind of just being that like, you know, ultimate ending of it all. Like, well, I guess that's that now. Like, I remember doing that last like group scene, like where we're all outside the AM and everyone's kind of going their way, their separate ways and whatnot. But yeah, that was the ultimate, was, you know, the dying scene with Green and Dr. Bright. It was just like, that took everything out. So thanks,
Yeah.
Julia.
Uh-huh. Well, hopefully it's been like 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Are we all good now? Is everyone good?
Nope, still recovering.
Nope, still mad about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that scene really sticks out in my mind as like there were a couple of times in the course of making all of the Bright sessions where like I was sort of like off to the side and had to like sort of like cover like my face a little bit, because like it would be so, like I would be like having two simultaneous conflicting experiences of like I am watching like a heartbreaking scene and my heart is breaking with Julia in that moment, and also director Lauren is fucking thrilled, and so it's like I would have this like weird insane grin on my face. And it's that scene, and for those of you who are Plus Pals, Atypical supporters, you may have seen the table read of the musical episode, which is available to view for those people, and that's Andrew singing his song to Julia, the first time she'd ever heard that song, because I withheld it from her until that moment, is like another great moment where I was like crying, but also just like full of glee.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved that scene. I loved, we did that. Yeah, we turned off the lights, I'm now remembering, in a couple of scenes to sort of like mimic the like Helen has cut the power, which was always really fun. And then, yeah, a couple folks in the chat mentioned the iPad being thrown. Christian, I don't know if you remember this at all.
I don't.
Okay.
Did I throw an iPad?
Yes, but you caught it.
Okay.
So this is in it's
How
in the
did
bloopers.
I try? Okay.
Okay, so this is in the bloopers. I unfortunately we weren't recording like video of any of this, so we don't have like the visual, but we have like the audio caught. And it's, I can't remember if it's on the public blooper reel or the just supporter blooper reel, but it was the scene. So yeah, there were two Alexes involved with AM Archives. There's Alex Marshall Brown, who plays Wadsworth, and then there's
Right.
Alex the character played by Mao Sun, who's the one that's on fire. And when Alex wakes up and starts screaming and we all react, that's a scene we had to do like 9 times because we kept cracking up because it was so abrupt to have now just sort of like immediately like sit up and start screaming. And there was one, I can like see it in my mind's eye. There was one take where, Christian, you were so surprised that you like threw the iPad out of your hands, but then caught it. And like, it was amazing. That I think that is my
like
favorite
my
moment.
Toronto Blue Jays, you know, I gotta be on the ball.
Perfect.
I don't
love that.
remember that.
It was,
I was probably so
it was
embarrassed
excellent.
that-
No, that was such a good, like, to exactly your point of like, just being with everybody and being able to kind of like feel everybody. And there were so few moments in that show where I was in scenes and I actually was in this, like, because I now don't, well, I say I now don't write, direct, and act, but literally my show that's coming out right now, 2008, I am doing that. But like, I try not to do all 3 at once if I can help it. And the AM Archives was like the last time for the Bright Sessions that I really did that. And so there were so many scenes where like Sam was in the scene and like I didn't feel fully immersed because I was, you know, had director brain on. But in those big group scenes, I kind of was able to just like disappear into them in a really fun way. Yeah. And also I do want to just say that we were talking about Andrew's size in the Pals Discord the other day, because it's like I can hear both you. I mean, actually, all 3 of you, like, if somebody, you know, in the Discord, like, you know, says, like, something that, you know, one of these characters would say, I can hear it perfectly in your voices, because, like, when you've edited hours and hours and hours of somebody playing a character, it's like you get to know every, like, little vocal quirk that they have. It's very funny. Okay, I do want to make sure that we get to this question that's been asked a couple of times in the chat. What made you decide to make the season a thriller rather than the same style of all the other seasons? I will briefly answer this so as to not talk too long, and then I'm curious, you know, how Julia and Andrew felt about changing the genre of the show that you'd been in for 5 seasons. So AM Archives and College Shapes were initially done for Luminary, and so they were behind a paywall, and I knew that was going to be the case, and I really wanted it to be different. I wanted it to be distinct from the Bright Sessions, because I didn't want Bright Sessions listeners to feel like I was taking something away from them. It was more of like, here's this additive thing. Like, here's this other experience that you can have over here, but like the Bright Sessions will always remain like here for you to listen for free. And I just really love thrillers. And I love like a locked room mystery, a locked room action film. And so like this just felt like, and I wanted to do something with the AM. And so it felt like, okay, like the AM is sort of this nefarious organization. I want to do something kind of really like closed circuit and something that's really different genre wise and very different structurally. And Thriller just felt like the right move. But obviously it was a big tonal shift and the structure of, I mean, the original show was just like mostly continuous scenes. Like AM Archives is the first time that we actually had like more of a TV structure where it's like you have distinct scenes and you're kind of jumping between scenes. I mean, what was that like for you guys, Julia and Andrew, taking the same characters and putting them in such a different kind of show? Or did it feel different at all?
I mean, not to take away from like your intention of it being different, but like, I mean, even the ending of Bright Sessions was a little bit like Thriller with breaking Mark out and you know, defeating or, you know, overcoming Damien. I don't at points like with that the Safe House episodes, you know, like those felt very kind of Thriller. So I but again, to me, it just kind of felt like a natural progression and elevation of like things just get more serious and this just gets stickier and stickier and dirtier and dirtier. Like that, it kind of just naturally elevated to like a thriller. I felt at least. You know, people with superpowers, it's like it's not going to stay nice and clean forever, right? And like. Yeah, you threw them in that like pressure cooker of the AM. Like, yeah, it was just like building and building and building. That's just what it kind of felt like to me. It was just like progressively got crazier, which was great.
Yeah,
I loved it. I loved it. I think like there's so much of the early original seasons. I mean, you need those to get to the AM Archives, right? You need all of that build up to get to the AM Archives, but I think the AM Archives might ultimately be my favorite season. And I I didn't even think of it. I don't think at the time I thought of it as a tonal or genre shift. Like Andrew said, it was just like the natural progression of where we would go next, especially if we're centering the story in the AM. But I feel like with the characters, I mean, everything that had come prior was still there, right? So everything, there was no like needing to recognize we're doing a tonal shift. It was still the same. For me, it was still the same Dr. Bright. And now we're all just in a different scenario. We're not in the comfort of my office anymore. We are in the big bad place, and there are more characters. So there was no thought about performance or prep or anything that had to do with tone or genre. It was just like the natural progression.
Yeah, the circumstances just got more, like, you just kept, like, they were so naturally and dramatically kept building of like, oh, now we have to deal with this, and like, okay, like, yeah, and we're still the same characters, and how are they going to react in this perimeter now? And the drama, the great drama of it was it just got crazier and crazier, and yeah.
Yeah, I do want to point out too that because I agree, like, it didn't feel, I mean, like, making the show felt very different for me in a lot of ways, because that was really the first time that, like, I had a budget to like play with. That was like my budget for like my thing. Mm-hmm. And so like the fact that, like, like I got like, like Briggon was a producer, and like, so it's like he was on set every day, like helping, and then like, Jordan was producing as well. And so like, I was sort of like running a show in a way that I hadn't ever before. And so that was very different. But the actual content of the show did feel the same. And I think what's important, I'm like, I don't know if the three of you have heard the show, right? Because I honestly would not probably listen to anything that I make if I didn't have to like, edit it and then give notes and all that kind of stuff. But like, the experience of the season is actually very different from the show. And it's because it's fully scored. And that is like such a different experience. And Evan's score for, I agree, Julia, AM Archives actually is my favorite season as well. And I think that a huge piece of that is that Evan's score is so, so good. And like, that was the first time that I got to like hear something I had written fully scored. And like, it just changes the experience so much.
That was a question that I had for you was, like, that the spooky music at the beginning, first of all, the theme song is so good.
It's so good.
It's so good. And just like going back and listening before this, it's so atmospheric, and it sets up the tone so well. And then just hearing that with the scoring, with the sound design, which is so awesome. And I was like, oh, has that always been there, like with the Bright Sessions, or was that the same theme song through all the Bright Sessions, or is that just for the AM Archives, or what?
Yeah, so the original theme of the Bright Sessions was composed by yours truly on my shitty little MIDI keyboard, and like in GarageBand, like I just like needed. I technically have a music degree. Like, it was in my wheelhouse enough to like, make credits music, and then. In college, I was also in an a cappella group because I was extremely cool. Obviously. And I met this wonderful guy in my a cappella group, Evan Cunningham, who then moved out to LA when we were making like season 3 of the Bright Sessions. And I was like, Evan, great. 2 things. Can you start doing credits music for me? And can you fix this theme? Which he did. And also, I think I want to do a musical episode of the Bright Sessions, like, at some point, can we sort of aim towards that? And so in season 4, we do a musical episode, and Evan and I wrote all the music for that. I wrote the songs, and then he actually wrote the music. And then Misha Stanton, our wonderful sound designer, came on to the show episode 16. Before that, I was sound designing it, which is why the first season and a half of the Bright Sessions sounds bad. But yeah, for the AM Archive. So yeah, Misha sound design, all of that. It's their amazing work. Just like, and I just like was able to give them a budget to just like really, really run with it. Because nobody was paid really much of anything for the original 4 seasons of the Bright Sessions, actors included. I think, like people were making like $50 an episode or whatever. Like, it was very, very low rent in a lot of ways. And then, yeah, like Evan and I just bandied ideas back and forth for the theme. And then like when he hit up on a theme, like I just fell in love with it. And then I can't remember exactly how it came about, but the idea sort of came forward of like, okay, when Helen gets control, she can control frequencies. Let's distort the theme each episode progressively, which happens
cool.
starting in episode 9. It starts to get more and more distorted until the last episode when it finally corrects. And like, that's one of my favorite things that we've ever done
That's
musically
so
in any
cool.
show. And obviously, like, I love the theme for College Tapes, and I love the scoring that Evan did for that. But that was such a truncated. We made that show in like 6 months, and so he just like didn't have the kind of time to score it in the way that we had with AM Archives, because we did that show in real time, and because of COVID, it just all got very squished. Okay, wow, lots is going on in the chat here. I want to make sure that
I'm glad you shouted out Misha, though. That's what I was thinking too. Like their sound design, just like in a way, it was too much. It was like there was Evan's music and the writing team and the sound design improved, and it was just like so many great things all at once. And yeah, Misha's sound design also was just one of those things that was like, oh, this is just building and making it so much better.
You just picture it. You really picture the AM in your head and like different floors and that sort of. It's almost like what they achieved in what's that Apple show about working in the office?
Severance.
Yeah.
Severance. Like you get a sense of like a building sort of like that. These empty hallways and then these cells and these labs and everything like that. I mean, it's so vividly pictured in my head, and podcasts don't always achieve that, and it's just so well rounded. It's so well produced.
Yeah. I mean, and Misha just always asks like the best question. I mean, like, we've had so many conversations about like, okay, what kind of shoes do the characters wear? And like for the AM, like we talked really specifically about the architecture, about the materials that were used, about like it's like, okay, like this is kind of an old building that's had a new building attached to it. So like there's brick here, but then there's metal here. And like, here's what I'm picturing for the atrium. So here's how the reverb is going to change as Agent Green is sort of walking from the reception desk back to the offices. And like,
whoa.
Yeah.
Did you
like
ever sketch it out or map it out in some way?
I don't think for AM Archives I ever did. But then for College Tapes, I do have my scripts, and I think I've shared them with our supporters. My sound design scripts for College Tapes, where I drew like my like terrible little like maps and stick figures and stuff. Because there's one episode of that that none of you are in. It's just Caleb and Adam in the library, sort of experiencing this like time loop. And like I like mapped out like, okay, here's where the doors are, here's where they're coming in, like here's sort of where they're standing in relation to each other. And so like but I'm not an artist, that it's like I think it was probably like less helpful than anything anything else. I don't do that anymore. Somebody asked if Joan is the only character in all seasons of the podcast, and yes she is. She's the only one, because Sam is not in season 7 at all. Did I warn you guys that there were character deaths before I handed you the season?
No, I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Was there a conversation, or did you ever talk about how Agent Green's death, in case anyone has missed it, he dies?
He's dead.
Or am I making this up? Were that kind of like you were trying to avoid it, or it was like you didn't originally plan it and it came up and then trying to avoid it, or was that always just like, yeah, Owen's gonna die this season?
Are you thinking of Damien? How she wanted to kill Damien originally?
Yeah, Damien almost
Maybe.
died. But you all voted against it technically, because he made the smart choice instead of the emotional choice. I am really struggling to remember what exactly the thought process was behind that, and I'm trying to remember what I told Ian. I think I did tell Ian ahead of time. I think I did tell him like, hey, like heads up, like Agent Green is going to die, because Agent Green is also, all of these characters changed immensely. Like Dr. Bright changed immensely once you got a hold of her, because I was like, oh, Julia is bringing so much depth and complexity to this character that like I had initially kind of conceived of as being more of a villain, and so now I've got to really, now the trajectory of the show is changing. And it was the same thing with, I mean, Agent Green was literally supposed to be a one-off character. He was supposed to appear in those episodes in season 2 and then never appear again.
Oh, wow.
And, but Ian is Ian, right? And it's like, and it's same thing with all three of you, right? Where it's like, oh, well, I just need to now work with this actor more and work and write this character more. And so I knew that I wanted to, explore more of Owen in the season. And I can't remember sort of, it feels like a suggestion that Caitlin would have made. Like it feels like a Caitlin Schneiderhan, like this is how we raise the stakes kind of suggestion. But I don't know for certain. I think it is something that came up in the writers' room where we were like, someone has to die. Like we need somebody to die, and that's where sort of Dr. Sharp came. Her death sort of came up. But then I think it was just like we were sort of talking through like how we wanted Owen's story to end, and we were like, this is just kind of. It is one of those things that it's like, I regret it in the sense that it makes me sad that Owen is dead and that I would have loved to like continue to work with Ian in that capacity. But also,
we talk about this is sci-fi and atypicals. There's ways to like bring back
zombies
and
Agent Green.
Anything is possible with
anything
atypicals.
is possible. But I am really like happy that I do like the way that his story ended, and I think that it was like the right ending for that character.
Yeah, I feel like we may have had this conversation, or I may have just had this conversation with myself in my head. But I feel like that was the thing about his death for Joan's arc, is because she can never forgive him. She can never really forgive him.
Yeah.
So the answer to have closure in the relationship was for one of them to die. Like, right? That was just kind of like, because there was that spark that was kind of redeveloping, but she could just never forgive him. And so I feel like we may have had that conversation about how it was just like, it's the best right choice for this relationship.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's, and I think it's also like, like, oftentimes I take the most painful option out of options because it's the most sort of interesting story wise, and it's like not only could Joan have never forgiven Owen, but like she definitely can't now that he's dead, right? It's like there's no opportunity for closure, for growth. Like once somebody is gone, like they are just gone, and you cannot grow that relationship anymore, and that is its own kind of unique pain, I think, because I think after he dies, she's more inclined to want to forgive him, but of course she can't. And I mean, like, I don't know if Andrew or Christian, if either of you have a sort of perspective on Mark and Oliver's feelings about Owen's death, because obviously they had different kinds of relationships with him. Right. I don't know if you have thoughts there.
I mean, even just like in the comments, seeing people be saying, like Owen died to keep Oliver alive, and somebody even said, where is it? I thought I saw it a second ago. Oliver could bring him back, I think. Would he want to, though? Whoa. Oh, wow. It's pretty funny. I mean, I don't think Oliver has a bad enough bone in his body that if he could bring someone back that he wouldn't, especially if someone sacrificed themselves for him or anything like that. I think he's not a cruel man. He's snarky and he's petty, but he's not cruel, and I don't think he's evil. But that's an interesting thought. Could Oliver somehow, in this kind of alchemy way, bring someone back to life? I don't know. With the right elements, maybe. I think I don't know. We never tried it.
I think he could have saved Owen if he had been there at the moment of Owen dying, right? Yeah. Like I think he would have been able to repair something, right? He would have been able to take like some tissue and turn it into something else and repair the hole in his lung. I did see somebody commenting earlier about like joking about we actually killed Ian in the making of the AM Archives, because how can anybody wheeze that good? And I do want to say we did not obviously kill Ian, but I did have some very specific directions for him, because I did spend a lot of time on YouTube looking up what a lung sounds like when it has a hole in it, and ended up in some very weird corners of the internet. People put all kinds of weird videos on the internet.
I swear, the stuff we research for writing or for acting, we must be on lists somewhere, because our searches are very strange.
I am definitely on a list for passenger list, like
right.
searching how to like take down a plane. like over and over again. Like
Yeah.
I'm definitely on a list. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think if somebody had said, "Hey, Oliver, come over here and fix this guy," like I don't think that he would withhold that from somebody in need, even if like, yeah, I think he can be unthinking sometimes, but he is not a cruel person.
Yeah, I mean,
What about Mark, Andrew?
I'm similarly. I think he would be conflicted. I'm like, when you ask that, I can't. I'm like getting a vague memory of Mark having like a weird reaction of like, oh Jesus, like he's conflicted because he really didn't like Green for obvious reasons, and but same thing. I don't think he wishes death on someone like that. Yeah, which makes for a good, interesting conflict of like, how do you feel and how do you wrestle with it? So.
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't think. Yeah, it's like Mark also wouldn't step over Owen's body in the street while he was bleeding out. But like I think he's probably more sad for Joan than he is sad for Owen. Maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Because obviously his feelings towards Green were.
It's like there would be no good answer type of thing. Like doesn't feel great about a person dying, but he's also like, I didn't like this person, so I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of my favorite things about writing the AM archives was that like Bright Sessions has always dealt with sort of like nuance and gray morality and these complex questions, but like AM archives was really, I think because I knew it was going to be behind a paywall, I did feel like a little bit more free to sort of like be a little bit messier in my like themes and sort of like, I mean, like the whole thing is sort of me contemplating like, how do you safely abolish prison? Like that is like the sort of like meta, thing going on with that. And like the answer is like, I don't know, but like we should do it though. Like, I don't know how you do it safely. And I think it's the same thing with like, how do you forgive somebody who did something terrible when they are making best efforts, but the thing that they did is quite terrible? Can they be forgiven? How do you forgive them when they're dead? How do you forgive somebody like Helen, who is a victim of a system in many, many ways, but still is a murderer, and a cold-blooded one at that, at least in the AM archives. And yeah, I don't have answers for any of those questions. And like that to me was like the fun part of writing that series, I think.
But that's also wonderful because like so much writing these days has to tie everything together, and it assumes that an audience is dumb, which they are not, especially our fans. I mean, this is complicated stuff that we're working with, and to leave things in ambiguity, I think, is just so much more satisfying in an unsatisfying way. You have to come up with your own answer, and you have to, wrestle with your own feelings as to what you think is underlying everything. And I think that's just smarter writing in general.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of pieces of art do not trust audiences enough, and
no, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
actually,
like
that's probably the advantage of not having like a studio and a bunch of execs and a bunch of people like weighing in. Like, no, happy ending. Make this make sense and tie it all up. Like, when you're your own boss, you have complete freedom to just explore things the way you want to explore them, and I feel like you really took advantage of that in the best way.
Yeah, I mean, that was the wonderful benefit of Luminary, is like they gave us the budget and the platform, but they saw the treatment for what the AM archives was, and then they heard the episodes, and like that was it. They had like no interaction with the story itself, which was just really, really lovely. Because like I have been in situations where I've been developing something or pitching something or making something with a studio that like has their best intent, has great intentions and great people working on it and all that kind of stuff. Like the sort of evil studio exec thing is not always the case, right? Like
it's just too many cooks in the kitchen sometimes, and people just want to make sure that they're heard so that they can be like, oh, I'm useful, keep me around, like don't worry, this
exactly. And also to make sure like to not to like alienate anybody or offend anybody. And like I find myself falling into that trap sometimes too, where I'm like, oh well, if I do this, like is it gonna sort of offend or like alienate this group of people or that group of people? And it's like, well, no, like I'm writing with like best intentions. I'm trying to be vulnerable and say something. And like no matter what you do, people are always going to interpret your art the way that they're going to interpret it.
Yeah.
And like
it's not like anybody is out there trying to sabotage or make something bad. Everybody wants it to be good at the end of the day. Like they're all on the same page there, for sure.
Exactly. It's just sort of like how like empowered you feel to just actually like, yeah, be honest and vulnerable in
Yeah.
your work, which I think like podcasts are sort of uniquely great for, right? Because it's like they are smaller scale, usually independent, you know, and so you can kind of have that kind of freedom.
Mhm.
We only have a couple of minutes left here. Eleanor asks a question: what has the Bright Sessions taught you guys? This can be in terms of writing, morals, how to communicate. What did you take away with you when you left the studio that'll stay with you forever? And I want to expand this question even more into like, yeah, what's something about, you know, like working in audio at all? I mean, you all have worked in other you know, podcasts. Like, what is something that you feel like is distinct that you've taken away from this work, from, you know, compared to like film, TV, stage, anything else?
Big question.
Mm-hmm. I
I
think
mean, yeah, go ahead.
no. There's two things. One, I think I actually mentioned in the previous live stream, but it's worth repeating, which is like, it's okay to just work with good people. Like working on a show with a group of people where everybody was awesome and there weren't any big egos, or there wasn't that one cook in the kitchen who everybody's just trying to subdue. You know, just like, because that is, I think maybe that's something that occurs more in audio drama where maybe the financial stakes are lower, but I just feel like, you know, you're just thinking about like trying to get a film off the ground and the idea of compromising, like, oh, that guy is like an asshole, but like he's got a connection to this guy or this distributor or this money, and like there's all these compromises that you make on the business side that in my experience with fiction podcasting, we haven't really had to deal with. Maybe behind the scenes at some point, or maybe on certain types of shows that have bigger budgets. But I really appreciate, like Christian, I think mentioned, there's just a world where we can like sort of maintain creative control. Something also with this particular, although there has been signs of this sort of changing in certain levels, not like with the Bright Sessions, but the idea of like you have to be like a celebrity or a name actor to be in an audio show, which obviously there are audio shows that clearly just have name actors attached to them, but not in this level, not where like the Bright Sessions was. And being able to give people opportunities both as like voice actors and also sound designers and everyone on the team is like, no, as far as I know, nobody had to come in being like, yeah, well, hire me because I'll bring you more audience and I'll bring you a bigger paycheck. Like nobody had to do that, which is something that is quite common with film and TV.
Yeah, the lack of egos is just such a nice break from what you see out there in general. And, you know, I think from a performer standpoint, I learned a lot about, and I try to generally do this myself if I'm on a show and like guest stars are coming on, no matter what it is, and just be kind and like welcoming to people and make them feel like they're part of the team, because that's what you guys did to me, and it helped me do my best work, and I think, and it's just an easier way to work. I don't understand why we have so many assholes out there in like different various businesses and like egos and shit like that. Like especially in art, like you shouldn't have egos in art. You should just be open and ready to collaborate. This is a collaborative art form. So the fact that you guys welcomed me in like that was just everything I needed to be able to do what I do. And, you know, I try to extend that forward to other things that I work on. When you get some nervous, nerdy guy in to do something, I'm like, okay, come on, you're part of the team. Let's go. Relax, have a breath, and let's do this. So that was a huge thing to take away from this. I mean, that's just like a big career lesson in general.
Yeah, I mean, I feel very fortunate, and like it's been lightning in a bottle. Like you said, Julia, I don't know. Well, I know that it's not like this in every other medium, but like I feel very fortunate that we had Lauren and I've always said Lauren should be the president of the world. There's like so many things
I would be so bad at that job.
I really don't think
Nobody
she
wants that fucking job. Are you kidding me? Get
But-
the
Bad
fuck
job.
out of here.
But like my wife always says this too. Like there's like a protected at all costs list of like people that like we just need to. Like Lauren's definitely on that list, you know.
Oh,
and like
gosh.
I just because I take so many things that I've learned from how she led this, like with being vulnerable and being respectful and like how you like directed was so. I don't know. It just felt like, I was like, it's one of the few times I felt like I was led actually and actually directed into, as opposed to like, do it like this. And I'm just very grateful for having that experience. And I've tried to, when I made my own podcast, I tried to do that too. And I really tried to follow your example with that. And it was just a great reminder that yes, we don't, like you said, Christian, like they don't have, there are ways to get things done to make great things. And it doesn't have to be involve being an asshole. It can be, collaborative and open and gracious. And so that's one of the things I've always taken away. Like the fandom has been so awesome, and like it's all because of how gracious I think Lauren has been with all of it. So I always try to bring that to everything else too. That's
very kind. And my mom did just text me, aw, because I think she's watching. So thank you for saying that for my mom. I really appreciate that, but I definitely cannot take all the credit. Like I do think that it is. I think you could have the best person in the world in charge of something, and like it's only going to work if everybody else involved is also lovely, right? And so it's like I think it was a lot of, whatever the good version is of the blind leading the blind, right? Like we were all sort of following each other's lead. And I think for me, like, one of the big takeaways, and I've mentioned this on other things before, of audio in general is just like I really learned that, I think I learned that from like our acting class, right? And just sort of being in a collaborative space and being in a vulnerable space, but then also like the other people who were already established in the space, like Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Craner of Welcome to Night Vale, like really welcomed me into the fold, which like, and it's like, that's the reason that I like got into audio, is because I listened to Welcome to Night Vale and I loved it. So to like have the guys who created that be like, yeah, come on down, come to a live show. We'll, tweet out about your show or whatever. Like, yeah, that really, I think they set a wonderful example. And yeah, I completely agree. Like I since making the Bright Sessions, I have worked in certain situations where like at larger levels or whatever, where it's like, oh, so there are people that you can work with who are the worst. and that's good to know. And now I know that, because I was so insulated from that experience for so long, because like the first thing I worked on after the Bright Sessions was Passenger List. And like, that was just like a lovely experience all across the board. And so, I think I have really learned that it's like, okay, like, no, you don't have to put up with this, and you don't have to put up with working with people who aren't collaborative. And that's not to say that you're always going to agree with everybody and that there's never going to be arguments. Like that one clip of James Gunn and David Corenswet on the set of Superman, like having an argument, people being like, why are they mad at each other? It's like, no, like that's just like a good creative argument. Like that's, like, I think I've had conversations with, a lot of people in the Bright Sessions that have that kind of tenor of like, but because we're just passionate about it. But then I think the other thing that I really have taken away from working on the show, making the show, and specifically the listeners too, is just that like, and this is going to sound really cheesy, but I mean this very earnestly, was just like, in all the ways that I felt alone in my life for a long time, this was like, making this was like a great, not even a reminder, but really telling me for the first time that like I was not alone in these ways, right? Like I was not alone in being anxious and having panic attacks and being lonely and feeling strange, like, and that's something that I feel really grateful to our listeners for being vulnerable with me about. I feel grateful to every actor that's worked on the show and has brought their own vulnerability, I mean, like, Andrew, Julie, and I have talked on streams previously about how, like, sometimes we would just like end up like sitting on my bedroom floor, just like talking for a while, because we would like
sobbing,
sobbing, because we would record like a really heavy episode.
Yeah.
And then it would just you kind of get real with it. And so I think that the lesson for me in that, if I was going to summarize all of it, would be like, if you, and again, this is going to sound cheesy, but I do mean this earnestly. Like if you lead your own life with like vulnerability and empathy and kindness, like that will coalesce around you because like it will be returned in kind. And so I would encourage everybody to do that in their lives, because I think especially now we certainly need some of that out in the world. We need a little bit of vulnerability and kindness. I think we can all agree. But yeah, I'm just so grateful to our listeners and to the three of you and to everybody who helped make the show. And thank you so much for taking the time, you guys. If folks want to like listen to your other work, watch your other work, if you want to point to a particular project you're excited about, like, where can people find you? What do you want people to know about? Julie, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I guess I'm mostly on Instagram these days, much to my dismay. It's just at Julia Morizawa. I do tend to use it for like, cross promoting my projects. I try not to get too personal on there. So my current projects are usually like pinned at the top, so you can check those out. And I'm also very accessible, so DM me or if you have any questions and I don't know, just I'm accessible. DM me anytime. You can find my email if you Google me. You'll find my website. You'll find my email.
Andrew?
And your phone number? What's your phone number?
Social security number and credit card pin.
Yeah. Mother's maiden name and middle name, please.
Same as Julia. I'm on Instagram, Andrew Nowak 29, and nothing really on the horizon. But I always love people to check out the Lost City Prince, the podcast that I self-produce based on the Little Prince. It's near dear to my heart. I always want people to go and check that out.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
Christian.
You can find me on the old Instagram at the Christian Brun, Christian with a K, Brun, Brun, and the in front of it because there's some guy in Denmark named Christian Brun who got there first. So I'm the Christian Brun, not that I'm better than any other Christian Brun. Let's see. I don't know. I've got a couple things coming out. I'll probably post about them on Instagram, or you can go back and watch. Orphan Black is now on Netflix in the US.
It's so good.
So
and you're so
people
good
are like,
in it.
oh, thank you so much. People are like discovering it for the first time because they didn't have BBC America when it came out almost 10 years ago. Oh my God. Yeah, 10 years ago.
More than 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I
it finished in 2017. So
yeah.
It's like, that's crazy. There's 5 seasons. They're really fun. It came onto Netflix a month ago and it immediately was in the top 10. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Awesome.
So it's cool that people are getting a chance to see it. Or The Recruit on Netflix. We did 2 seasons of that before we were canceled unceremoniously.
I'm so sad about that.
It was a good show. It was really fun. I loved it so much. So yeah, I don't know. Find me on the socials and keep in touch.
I am the only one here, I guess, who's not on Instagram. I mean, I technically am on Instagram, but I don't post on it anymore. But yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky, on Tumblr. I am the Lauren Shippen on Tumblr for the same reason somebody else got Lauren Shippen
Yes,
first.
I'm not the only one.
Yes, more crucially, we have Christian.
I screwed it up. I'm at Mr. Christian Brun, not at the Christian Brun, because I didn't want to be pretentious and be like, I'm the Christian Brun.
No, I look like
so
an
I'm
asshole.
Mr. Christian Brun. I screwed it up, and you're the Lauren Shippen because you got to be the Lauren Shippen. My bad. I'm sorry. Continue.
That's right. I do remember that because actually, yeah, I used to be on Instagram, and that is actually how I first reached out to you about AIM Archives, because I did not have your email address.
Right.
Because I was not in charge of
Right.
scheduling for Passenger List. So I like DM'd you, and I was like, would you want to be in this thing? And I'm so glad you said yes.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, everybody can go to atypicalheroes.co/10 years for links to all of the previous live streams. There's also links to merch. We've got some new merch, including, just to like quickly plug a cool thing that I've spent the better part of this year, by which I mean actually all of this year and a few months of last year, putting together, which is, let me see if this works, if I can add this Bright Sessions Compendium. It is, what am I doing? I have a copy right here. I don't know why. Okay, here it is. This is a 140-page volume of my show Bible, my script notes for the original series, my playlist notes. It's got photos. It's got all kinds of things in here, in-universe stuff, notebooks from the AIM Archives, College Tapes Planner, and you can buy it now. It's really beautiful. Shane McMillan designed the book, and I am obsessed with it. So if you're like a mega fan, we only have 100 and
Wow.
already like 30 are gone. We posted it yesterday. So if you want that, you better hurry up. There will be a digital version eventually, but for now, we're just doing the print and we probably will only do this one run. So go grab that. Keep an eye out for a vinyl of the musical episode that's going to be coming later this year. And thank you all so much for watching. And as always, stay strange. Bye, everybody.